Now, after 18 years in top flight rallying, 44-year-old Paul Nagle. My God, 44. Paul, you're looking good for 44, actually. There he is, sitting there with me. He's chosen to retire from the sport. He revealed, of course, that he will retire in the World Rally Championships after Rally Catalunya at the end of the month. And we'd like to say that we have Paul now in studio with us to chat about that and maybe a little bit more about the announcement and where the journey is going to take him next, possibly. Paul, I'm sure you're getting used to the word retirement now. It's been bandied about. Most people that retire, you think you're retiring really old and you're heading off into the sunset. Retiring from a professional sport, though, it does come a time where the time is right. Is this the right time?
It feels like it's the right time, and you don't. It's been half my life really in the motorsport world. In the World Championship, it's the top level of the sport, and I've been there for the last 10-15 years at that level, and it takes a toll. The amount of rallies, the amount of travelling. As I said, I'm 44 now. I started off when I was a young lad, and I hadn't care in the world and was just off around the world with a suitcase around me. But as you get older, times change and you have wives and
when you jumped into the rally first, I mean, you're a young fella, you pack your suitcase, some guy says, listen, you're going to anywhere in the world, you want to go to Sweden or Portugal or wherever it was at the time, the first one. Can you remember the first one?
Well, it all started back in my local rally, in the Killarney Historic Rally back in 1996. That's where it really started, but that was at a low level in Irish motorsport, and built myself up in Irish scenes for 10 years probably, and then got a break in the World Championship. I did, my first WRC rally was in 2004 in Spain, obviously, with my neighbour Donny O'Sullivan, and that's my first taste of the World Championship rallies, and from then on, it took off from there. Really.
And what was it like rocking in two Killarney kids new on the block at that level? I mean, were you allowed in? Did you park in the right place? Were you following the fellas around the place saying, wow, he's a great fella, will I get his autograph? Or do you fall in fairly quickly?
You fall in fairly quickly, like you have to get on with the sport, and back then we were very green going into Spain that year, but we had plenty of support. We were driving a Ford as well, so we had support from the Ford team. But it was a massive learning curve, and it was a learning curve with no pressure for me. We went out to enjoy ourselves and did a couple of rallies, and from there on, 2006, I went in with the McHale family and in the World Championship, and that's where I really put my name into the World Championship. I was getting a lot of experience up, and it's like any sport, if you get the experience up and you start getting results, you start getting recognised, and it took off. 8 and 9 was a bit of a quiet years, and got into the IRC, which was the European Rally Championship of today, with Chris Meek, a fella from Tyrone, and we went on to win that championship, and from then on it was non-stop. As far as
it was country after country, month after month, and just going through, because I was looking today, I mean, Monte Carlo, Sweden, Croatia, Portugal, Sardinia, Kenya, Estonia, Finland, Belgium, Greece, New Zealand, Spain. If you had the old suitcase, you'd have plenty of stamps on it.
I would, and if you had there, I was Argentina, Brazil, Mexico,
wow.
Barbados. I've been all over the world. I'm very fortunate for that, and very grateful to see all those parts of the world. And it's all part and parcel. But you're on 100 flights a year. You're away from home over 200 odd days a year times, and you have probably 28 to 30 weekends away as well, between you leave the weekend before sometimes and everything, and you have long hauls, as you mentioned, some of the places there. So it is a flat-out full-time job, and you need massive support, and you have to give up your whole life for it. There is no distractions, and you have to just put your head down and skip everything and ignore weddings, funerals, parties, nights out with the boys. You have to give this your all, and there's
social life as such is on hold. I mean, you mentioned it. We think it's a sport, but you mentioned the word job. It is a job. I mean, ultimately, some of us go to the work in the morning, they plug in the computer, but your job is to go and do the best you can for your, I suppose, for Ford and Citroën and whoever you were representing at various different times. Does these jobs, like every job, after a while just becomes a job?
It becomes a job when you get into the manufacturer teams and you're representing a brand like Citroën or Ford or Hyundai. When I was the last 10 years, it is a job. There's nothing else. You're there to perform. You're there to get results. There's 50, 60, 70 people at every event working on behalf of myself and Craig, or myself and Chris down through the years, and they expect the best, and we're there. There's 9 or 10 professional seats in the world, and we have one of them, and that brings all the pressure and the expectations and the stress and all that. So it's gone from a sport. It's a job. It's a full-time job, and it can be a difficult job at times. And the sport has changed over the last 10 years now. Most of the most of the rallies now are live on TV, and you've all social media now compared to 7 or 8 years ago. So you've all that aspect as well, which is very important, because that's what brands want and that's what manufacturers want and everything. But you also have the negative side as well, where you have all the critics and political.
The negative side, of course, you see a lot with professional sport. I mean, you don't deliver, you come third instead of second, you come fifth. You the negative side, does that have an impact? Do you follow it? Do you watch it? Even if you're not watching it, maybe your family are watching it, or your neighbours down the road are certainly looking at it. Does that have an impact?
It does, but you learn to deal with it. Back maybe in 2017 and 18, we were having a really bad time in the Citroen days, and it did affect us a bit. Like, there's social media can be a dangerous place, and it got to us at times. But now, at this day and age, you just throw it over your shoulders and just smile and nod.
You become used to it. You know, you're not Stephen Kenny. Like, I mean, after every FAI match, you know, Stephen Kenny is in, out, or you know, it follows it. Talk to us about somebody else, more important people in your life, probably your own family. I mean, I know you have 2 small kids. What age are they? They're smallies, aren't they?
One is, first fella's 5, and Leon is 2.5. He'll be 3 Christmas. So it's a busy household now as well. We need 2 kids at home.
Yeah.
And my wife Kathy's has been supportive all the last 10, 15 years as well, and her life is put on hold as well, because she's at home minding kids and everything. So, as I said, it's a team effort from home as well. But when you're away so much, she has to just run the house, run everything.
So when you get home, are you put on dishwasher duty and washing machines, or are you still kind of half working?
When I get home, I put hands on deck as well and try and help out as much as I can, because...
Does Cathy give you the shopping list and say, go off there now, I haven't seen you in 36 weeks or something?
No, she goes off and does that and leaves me at home with the kids to manage the kids and everything. But no, it can be difficult.
What's that kids' time like? I mean, I have a small fellow, he's not small anymore, but I can remember when they were that small and they're moving up. It's like the world is all theirs in sense. I mean, you move everything around their world. What's it like to get home, getting out of the car, away from the stress, away from the social media, and there's Fitz and Leon probably knocking something over inside the house, or the next emergency that's up. What's it like that time?
It's great when you get home to see them. It doesn't matter what they're doing, you know, you're away so much, and it's when they're at an age now where they know I'm gone, and they know I'm going away, which is a bit more difficult. Last couple of years when they were a lot younger, I was just gone, but now they know when you're leaving on a Sunday morning or Monday going to a race that there's tears in the eyes, and that can be difficult when you come home to see them. But we're lucky enough now with FaceTime, and you have all those gadgets that can keep us connected around the world. But yeah, like the young lads now, he's starting playing football and he's doing all these bits and pieces, and there's a stage in my life I have to give back. I've been very fortunate to what I've done, and I have to do something back to my own family and friends and my own mother as well, and as well at home, that I've been away so much. So it's time I give something back to them that they've given me so much over the last 15 years.
I presume when you made this decision, obviously you speak to Craig and he knows first. Was that a difficult decision? Was it an easy chat? Do you have a great relationship? Is it kind of one where you could bounce it off, or did you have to kind of wait for a certain time to do it, or was it a surprise, or how did it happen?
No, myself and Craig have a great relationship inside and outside the car. We always had. We've known each other for a long, long time, and Craig knew that I was coming to end of my career at some stage. He's 12 years younger than me, so it came after June. I was second in Sardinia in Italy in June, and I decided then maybe it was time to have a chat and discuss moving forward and getting someone. And it's a big decision to make, and it's a big, because there's a lot of confidence you need inside in the car and a teamwork and getting on with someone. And it just went on from there for the next couple of months. We decided that, it was time to go, and when it was the right time to go, and we got someone else in, go do a bit of testing and see how they would get on with Craig. And it was the plan, the end of the year, Japan, the last round, and in the first round, this Monte Carlo in January. So it was either stop after Spain or try and do Monte Carlo as well, because sending a new co-driver to the first round of the championship is quite daunting when you're over on the streets of Monaco and heading up into the mountains of snow and ice. So I've opted out after Spain, and I'll go and help Craig in Japan, and I will help him as much as possible next year as well, as part of the team, but not as a co-driver.
Of course, your role is a co-driver. I mean, speak to us about that, I suppose. I mean, obviously you're the guy that's sitting and roaring out, go left, go right, crest this or whatever it is, or shouting whatever way it is. Talk to us about some of the times where things might go wrong, and maybe it's the wrong note, or maybe he's not driving the car the right way. It's a fierce trusting relationship to get that car from A to B as fast as you can, and things do go wrong. But how do you deal with issues that, obviously, I won't say a mistake has been made, but obviously in every sport, there's a call that goes right or goes wrong. I presume you've had a couple of those over that long lasting relationship.
Oh, there is, of course, and it's no secret at the moment we're having a bad season where more or less last 3 or 4 rounds have been pretty difficult, and it has its ups and downs, and we've had mistakes, we've made mistakes, and the pressure's on at the moment. But we have to work together, you stick together, and Craig's one of the most consistent drivers in the World Championship last year, and we've gone through maybe a run of 3 or 4 races here where we have mistakes in retirement, and we just have to deal with it, work through it. It's like a footballer kicking wides or a soccer player not performing up front, and it's all based on confidence as well, and it'll all come back for Craig, and we'll work in every way possible to get him back on the podiums again for next year.
Yeah, fair play. Well, let's stay with us. We're going to take a break now, but we will chat a little bit more, and we'll be joined, of course, by Sean Moriarty, a guy who knows a little bit more about your life than I do. But I'm learning. I'm not doing so bad. Of course, Killarney's Paul Nagle. He's hanging up his helmet. Do you hang up helmets? Is that a thing? Is it?
I haven't hung it up yet, so I'll tell you in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. I wonder, do you hang it up or just throw it over a ditch or something, or do you ring with your car? But hang up the helmet anyway. And he's retiring from the World Rally Championships now. A man who's going to fill us in a little bit more about Paul, because he's very kind of, he doesn't give much away, does he? So we've got Sean Moriarty to dish all the secrets out.
Sean, I mightn't give all the secrets out.
Okay, well, we only want one, we only want one good one. We might get it in. Sean, I suppose put into a minute or two what this guy has actually achieved. I mean, we were looking at the day and we were saying, look, it's a world sport, Ching. He's one of the top 10 in the world, Ching. He travels around more places than Man United are going, unless they're in the UEFA. Well, they don't play Kenya yet, and they haven't gone that bad yet. So he's done all this. He spent 22 years of his life, he told me, or at least half his life. He didn't say 22, of course. He was very clever there, doing it. So what has this man achieved? And is he one of Kerry's greatest?
I would safely say he's one of Ireland's greatest motorsport representatives. You're looking at 5 World Championship, 5 FIA wins, 18 podiums at that level, 2 intercontinental titles. These are the best championships in the world. He mentioned in the early part of the interview that there is 9 or 10 professional seats. He's held one of them consistently for the last 18 years. There's very few other sportsmen in any discipline across the county that can put those records together and put them together into one package. There's even one very unusual record. It stems back to Finland in 2018 when himself and Chris Meek won the Finnish rally, and it's very unusual for a non-Scandinavian to win that rally. And they were the fastest ever world rally car on a special stage ever, and that has not been repeated in that length of time. Officially the fastest two men in the world in a rally car, and that record is unlikely to change in the near future with the current hybrid technology.
Well, he certainly built you up, hasn't he?
He did a good. He knows better more than I do.
We should have just interviewed you, really, Sean, I suppose. Paul, when you hear it all back, I mean, people say that your career goes by in a blink of an eye. I mean, you were talking about, how yourself and your body just rocked over and you were a little bit green. Where do you turn from being green to being ultra competitive to being one of the top 10? Do you know that's happening yourself, or do you take a look back and you have fellas like Sean Moriarty reminding you how good you've got?
I suppose I'm inside in the bubble with the last so many years, whatever, and it's probably when I stop now and retire and look back what I've done and what I've achieved, and I've been very fortunate to represent the country at the highest level of the sport and to win the rallies and have all the podiums. Yeah, you probably pinch yourself a few times and go, I didn't do so bad. And even when I came back home,
pinch yourself there and give me your top 3. I mean, he gave me 18, this and 18.
When you win your first World Championship rally in Argentina in 2015, that's a very special moment. And obviously, Shawnee missed winning Finland, and when you win Finland, it's like winning the Champions League final. It's
go back to Argentina. You won Argentina. Did you appear in the local newspaper here? Or was it just kind of a small...
Probably did, but look, Shawnee would be a good man for that, put it in the papers. But look, I wasn't in for the fame for being in the papers or anything like that. I did it for love of the sport, and that's where I started out as a Kerryman, chasing probably the Irish dreams and winning the Irish rallies and winning my Rally the Lakes and the home rallies. And it just one thing led to another, and I was determined and I wanted to get to the top, and whatever means matters, I went there and did the best and took gambles and took risks and made the right decisions at the right times, which is very important, and believed in myself that I could chase the dream and live the dream.
Mm-hmm. It's an amazing dream. I mean, is there a lot more Kerry people that can follow Paul Nagle around the place? There's a lot of Kerry people involved in the sport.
Plenty of people involved in the sport, and 2 very strong clubs in the county, and a system coming through the ranks, I suppose. We've had a local, Nolly O'Sullivan from Muckross is the latest British
I think I cursed him the last night he was on with Devil's Bridge, was it?
He's a local co-driving champion from British champion, so there's more coming through the ranks. There's a lot of people who have travelled the world following Paul's career for the last 18 years. I remember his first event in Spain in 2004. It was based out of Lloret de Mar, which is just slightly northeast of Barcelona. I think half of Killarney District Motor Club were there, and the other half of Kerry Motor Club were there that weekend. But that was kind of the start of it for us, and there's been a group of us, Dave Griffin in Castlemaine there, he's another regular traveller to the events all over the world. A lot of people, I don't want to mention names and leave other people.
Even Ivan goes sometimes.
Sorry?
Even Ivan goes sometimes.
Ivan, our producer here tonight, goes from time to time. But
we've been great shows those nights.
Yeah, incredible places all over the world. We've been, we've been to up on top of mountains and inside snowbanks, and where tourists don't go, like places like Kacarisco in Finland and Faf in Portugal and Valberg in the south of France. People don't go to these places as a tourist destination. They're kind of normal destinations for us. I personally, I don't need a map around the Ypres area of Belgium. So you just learn all these things, and the experiences we've had as our geography knowledge and our cultural knowledge developed while we were having just this great experience of travelling the world. And
of course, Paul, like you said, you're not giving up straight away. I mean, it's going to be a transition over to somebody else. We won't ask who they are. It doesn't really matter. They won't be as good as you anyway. It's all downhill from here. But the one thing about it is, will you be sitting watching television in a year's time, watching the rally and obviously keeping Leon and Fitz apart from each other or not breaking anything or all that, and saying, God, I miss it?
That has crossed my mind and will cross my mind for sure to be like us. But we all have to make a decision at some stage in our lives when you want to stop. And I'm going out on my terms, and it's very important for me as well. What I do outside the World Championship, will I go do other rallies, go back rallying at home? That's a question I haven't even decided or thought about. It'll give me time.
Is it still fun for you? You mentioned the word job in a long time. Does it get to a stage where the fun goes away? I mean, if every sport is fun for a while, and then it gets competitive, and then you have Sean Moriarty following you all over Finland and Spain and the whole lot. Does that pressure add to it?
Fun, it's a job.
It's a job.
No fun. No, it's no. When at this level, the pressure, and as I said earlier, you're representing a brand and you represent your country as well, which is very important. It's job, it's not fun. And we were fortunate enough to come back here in 2019 when we didn't have a seat in the World Championship, and we did all the rallies in Ireland, and that was really enjoyable and gave me the love for the sport back again, because we've had dark times and good times through the sport like any sport, but we came back here to win. My home rally here in Killarney was very important to me.
What was that like?
It was
one that evaded you, and you finally won it.
It was evaded me for years, but I did very little rallying in 10 years at home, and it was always something that I had to do. And I've been fortunate enough to win all the rallies in Kerry, but to win the Rally of the Lakes, any young fella growing up through school inside in St. Brendan's and Killarney, and on a Friday in May or in December in the earlier days, you wanted to win that, and it took me a long time to win it. I took a different path in my rallying career, but to win it in the 48 and to get the first Killarney man to win it is up there with one of my biggest moments.
Sean, to tell the GA people out there what's happening, what he's just after describing is, it's like you win the County Championship, but you don't win the O'Donoghue Cup. He finally won the O'Donoghue Cup, so now he's one of the rest.
Well, I can confirm he's also a county champion, because County Kerry is the only county in the country that runs the County Rally Championship, and Paul won that in 2019 based on his results in the Rally of the Lakes and the Killarney Historic Rally. So it's just one of these unusual championships that we have based on the 4 or 5 local rallies. So he has a county championship, as a county championship medal, as well as a World Cup in his house. So that's very true. He mentioned the local rallies too, but I think it's worth mentioning there's some very big international rallies out there that weren't necessarily rounds of the World Rally Championship, but Paul's been very successful in, as well as Ypres Rally in Belgium. Won it twice, once with Craig, once with Paul, once with Craig, once with Chris, and the San Remo Rally in Italy, 3-time winner there. And San Remo's up there with the all-time greats of Monte Carlo and any other incredible rally in Europe. And these kind of go under the radar when you're talking about World Championship level. But these are to have your name on the San Remo Cup 3 times is as big as it gets, like being on the Champions League Cup to put it in football terms. And I know nothing about round balls.
Paul, you're retiring, you're stepping away from the sport, looking at what was the reaction with other co-drivers driving for other people, the drivers? Did you get the WhatsApp saying, we'll miss you, or is there a closeness there? I mean, you're all competing, but I presume at the end of it, when the rally is over and somebody wins by 13 seconds and you're 8 seconds off the thing, there's a social network together, or is it a case that it's a job and you're very separate and you're very...
No, we're a very close community, especially the co-drivers. We work very well together, and to be fair, last week in social media when it was announced I was retiring, there was a very good response across the board with all my people, and as Shawnee touched on it there, all the supporters as well that have travelled the length and breadth of the world to fly the flag for myself and Craig and myself and Chris in the earlier days. Like, they've spent their own money out of their own time and to see us in strange parts around the world, and obviously Spain a couple of weeks now, there's going to be a big contingent from Ireland going over as well, which is an annual event for the Irish motorsport community.
Speak to me about something funny about that. Of course, we all think when you go rallying, it's like you're rallying around the lakes of Killarney early all the time, and of course there's tar, but you're rallying in minus 20 degrees in some countries, and I see Kenya. Obviously Kenya doesn't have any snow, so I mean that's a complete different world to rallying as well. How difficult is it for you to prepare yourself for all these conditions?
Every rally gives its own nature of an event. You have Monte Carlo with the snow and ice. You have Sweden, where we were up in Arctic Rally up to see Santa in Lapland there 2 years ago, minus 30, 35 when we were testing there. And you go from extreme heat in Mexico or in Sardinia, and you have the Kenya where it's just a different world altogether.
What was Kenya like, in fairness?
Shawnee was with us there for that weekend, so one of my highlights of the year, really, to be out there and rubbing shoulders with all these zebras and giraffes and everything, and we're rallying in the wild, and our rallies are very strategic, this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where this is a bit more extreme, and you have to mind the car, and we had bad weather as well, a couple of days, massive rain, and to see all the wild animals and to see such a remote part of the world, it was definitely the highlight of the year for me, really.
It's something that the sport gives you as well, doesn't it, Sean? You know, if we have anybody listening tonight and saying, God, I want to be the next Paul Nagle, and I might be, or whatever it is, but there's that world side to it that we don't see. I mean, you mentioned Monte Carlo, Sweden, we take that. Croatia would be kind of cool, Portugal, Sardinia, I'd imagine be good. He mentioned Kenya, Estonia, Finland, that's kind of cool for me, Belgium, Greece, that's where the soccer team will be going, Spain, and Japan, where he'll be going to kind of maybe officially hand over the helmet, because you won't be
hanging it up. We were in New Zealand now 2 weeks ago, and we got to see the...
and Australia over the years.
Australia and
Brazil,
All Blacks.
Two rally victories in Brazil.
Good God.
To get to meet the All Blacks against Australia in the rugby match 2 weekends ago, and meet all the players and everything, was there's some perks of the job as well, and that was one of the best PR activities I've ever done, to be there in the same place as them and get a tour of the pitch and see two great teams, and obviously the All Blacks, one of the greatest teams in the world. It was one of special highlights.
So Sean Moriarty, first important question: when's the book coming out?
I don't know. There's an awful lot of secrets.
There's a lot of stories there to tell.
He'll definitely have to be fully retired before the book is published.
Well, he can go volume 1 and volume 2 or something, to know the whole lot. Paul, I mean, we were talking about kind of missing it and stepping away from it. What will you miss the most from it? I know you mentioned job and 'tis hard and the whole lot, but I mean, and you said the fun might have been drained out of it, but there's things that you will forget, or things that you will remember and say, geez, that was good, I can't do that. You're going to be below in daily super value someday shopping, and you'll be looking at your watch and say, God, I could be in Kenya with a giraffe or a zebra or something like that.
I'll miss the my friends having the World Championship. Built up a lot of friendship there, and as I said already, we're a tight community, and I'll really miss them out there, and I'll miss probably being the factory teams and the competitive edge of that as well, but I won't miss the travelling. I won't miss all the travelling. That was one of the hardest parts. I had a Kerry Airport, Dublin, road up to Dublin. I won't miss, but I'll miss the excitement as well.
And of course, you were driving that road. You weren't co-driving that up.
Driving, and I'm minding the speed as well. Don't you worry.
Nobody on the side telling you the notes and telling you the degrees. Well, look, we're certainly going to miss you here in Radio Kerry. Ivan is particularly going to miss you, because my God, I mean, you're his hero. Like, I mean, my God, I mean, like, come in, we must have him, Paul Nagle on. We have to have Paul Nagle on. Like, you absolutely ruined it by retiring, because we had planned to have you on every month for the next year and a half. But you are there. You've given so much to Kerry. I mean, I don't know what to say to you. Go back, enjoy your family time. I'm sure Cathy has 110 jobs for you. Does she finally believe you're retiring?
I think she has a fair idea now, stepping away. Yeah.
She's getting around to it.
Come out of
Of course, there's going to be a big change for her now because you're going to be home 52 weeks of the year. And, is there any chance Cathy might say to you next February, will you go back to it? Will you keep out of my way and head away?
Never know, you might be back. You never know. Come out of retirement. Maybe a lot of people think I'll come out of retirement, but currently no.
Currently no. Well, look, currently is good enough. Guys, listen, thanks very much, Shamar. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again as the year goes on. It was a certain pleasure. Paul Nagle, whatever you do, keep the speed limit, keep the notes, and keep filling that dishwasher as well, because that's going to be your new sport.